I mentioned at the outset today that the Housing Trust's Homes for Local Heroes campaign is aiming to destigmatise the very people who need and live in affordable rental accommodation. So let's spend a few minutes now chatting with Luke and with Lynn. Both are community housing tenants at very different stages of their lives. Luke is just starting out and he's studying right now, while Lynn has recently kind of retired after a long and rewarding career and is now enjoying his senior years, but still contributing to the community. Are you both with us, Luke and Lynn?
Yes.
Luke, let's meet you first. G'day. How are you doing today? Are you enjoying the forum so far?
Yes, I'm enjoying it. Never been to something like this before.
Great. It's quite a crowd. As I mentioned, you're studying. Tell us a little bit about what you're studying and where, Luke.
So I am studying accounting and bookkeeping at the Australian College of Commerce and Management in Wollongong. I'm currently doing it from home, and I'm doing my Cert 3 at the moment. I'm looking to do my Cert 4 and getting a traineeship through that.
Fantastic. And tell us a little bit about your experience in terms of finding a place to live. I know you came from Sydney down to the South Coast, I guess looking to escape the rat race, like so many people wanting to get to Wollongong and find a place that's more affordable.
Yeah, well, I was actually in a home invasion in Sydney.
Wow.
And that's the reason I moved down here. What made it worse was the place I was living in. It was awful. Like the front door did not even close. So that made it even more ridiculous. And as well as that, I was charged for leaving early, and didn't get my bond back. So I needed something affordable.
And how did you go about it? And how long did it take, the whole process?
Well, see, I moved in with Phoebe, my flatmate, at her parents' place, and we were looking on and off, and I went, okay, we need to start looking like properly. And it took us like 5 months. And everything was just ridiculous. People were offering higher prices at rentals, so we could never get anything, even at the more affordable places. Yeah.
And was it the Housing Trust who, I guess, came to the rescue to some extent?
Yes. I was looking at this place for a while, and we were talking about it. And I'd even looked at pictures online. I looked at the articles of the place being built, and I'm like, wow, this place is like really new as well. Like I haven't even seen stuff like this in Sydney when I lived up there. And I was just shocked.
And tell me, are you hoping to be there for the long haul?
Oh yeah, this place is great. So quiet, neighbors are good. And it's just easy to study now, because I've lived in industrial areas, I've lived near noisy neighbors, but this is probably the best place I've lived in.
And I guess ultimately you'll be looking for a job in your chosen field. I must say, accountancy is not my strength. Tax time is something I don't look forward to. I might be looking you up, Luke.
No worries.
What's your ambition once you finish your studies?
Well, I would love to open up my own accounting business. That'd be great. Obviously, I've got to start at the bottom doing some bookkeeping. I'm already doing a bit online here and there, just a bit of work experience with people. But yeah, the ultimate goal is that.
Well, wish you well with your studies, and welcome to our part of the world. It is a great part of the world, and I'm glad you're settling in. You're feeling safe and secure, and you've had a great experience with the Housing Trust. I'm sure that will continue.
Thank you.
Good on you, Luke. Now let's meet Lynn. Lynn, could you share your story with us? Firstly, a little bit about your working life and what brings you to this forum today.
Well, my name's Lynn Bailey, and I'm a very grateful, relatively new tenant of Housing Trust. I've only been in my unit here in Shellharbour for 12 months. And I moved to the Illawarra in 81 with 4 very young children. I was married at the time. We bought our own home at the time. And for the next 25 years, I lived in that home and reared those 4 children to adulthood. And then after 34-year marriage, my husband and I went our separate ways and we sold our family home. But at that stage, I was in my late 50s. And I just, because I was working full time, I had a great job. I'd worked full time all my life. I'm a midwife, spent over 50 years working as a midwife.
Wow.
I went to get a loan and the banks just laughed at me and said because I was a 58-year-old single female, I wasn't eligible for a loan. So I had to start and rent, and I continued to rent. I only gave up full-time work a couple of years, 3 years ago, I think it was, by which time I turned 70. And after I gave that up, I just, I'd been renting ever since I sold the house in Dapto in 2007. I just couldn't afford the rental market as it was once I gave up full-time work. So one of my children very kindly offered to, she and her husband were renting with their 3 young girls, and she put it to me that if they got a different house with, in-law accommodation, would I move in and help her with children taking, before and after school care. So I agreed, and for 2 years I did that up until just over 12 months ago when they actually, and once again, because it didn't matter how fast they saved, they weren't getting enough money behind them to be able to afford over here. So they made the decision to go over. He got a fly-in, fly-out job over in WA, and they went over there 12 months ago, which left me in the position of where do I go from here? And by then the pandemic had hit. I started looking at rental properties, and I would go to look at a 1-bedroom rental property that would be on the market for $350, which, there was no way I could afford it, but that was what I was looking at. And there'd be a queue of 15, 20, and somebody behind me would say, oh yeah, we're prepared to pay an extra $100 a week if it'll get us the property. Really? And it was like, oh my goodness. So I was feeling pretty devastated. The rental property we were in had been sold, so we had to be out of that before Christmas. My daughter I was living with was going to WA. My other children just don't have accommodation big enough to take an extra person in. And the Housing Trust came to my rescue. I was
hoping there was going to be a happy ending.
Oh, it was. I saw the ad, I applied for it, and within a month I was told I'd been successful. Oh, and great. 12 months ago, I just moved into this amazing, beautiful 1-bedroom unit I have here at Shell Harbour. And I'm just eternally grateful for the Housing Trust to make this possible, because I really don't know where I would have been. I have a 15-year-old car. I'd probably be living in that if I hadn't have got this place, because I certainly couldn't afford rental in the public market at the moment.
Well, Lynn and Luke, thank you for sharing. Lynn, I know you're still doing a little bit of work in the community. The election's coming up. You're lending a hand there?
I am. I've got a bit over a week's work coming up with the elections, and I still do some coaching working mums to help them get through the difficult stages of their lives that they're at. Yeah.
Well, your story in particular, I think it emphasises what this Homes for Heroes is all about. It's not all about teenagers or people in their early 20s. It's people who've, at your end of life, which is just about my end of life, finding themselves in a really tough position. And, as you say, thank goodness we've got people like the Housing Trust and rooms and properties available to help you and those like you out. And you too, Luke, of course. Thank you to both of you for sharing your stories today, your experiences, and we're so thrilled that both of you had really positive outcomes. And with more homes becoming available, as we hope will happen in the years ahead, more and more people like you will get that helping hand that you all deserve and need. So thank you.
My pleasure.